Hello everybody, what I have here is an original Nintendo Game Boy Advance where it has been modified with a brand new translucent blue shell, and for the more transparent effect I used glossy spray paint to do so because the shell was originally frosted translucent plastic, and I would much rather the more transparent plastic like this so you can see through the stuff inside of this thing. Anyways, got teal buttons, a Game Boy Advance IPS model sticker on the back which comes from Retro Modding, this label here, a PAM 8403 amplifier in this Game Boy Advance, and it has a DS Lite speaker in there, a rechargeable battery mod which I used a 2200 milliamp hour battery, and there's also an IPS LCD in there, and this is the OSD laminated IPS here. There's also another feature too. While this has a USB-C port right there, it has a dock mod where I can use this with external controllers and have TV out at the same time. With the PAM 8403 mod installed into this Game Boy Advance, I have impressively loud sound out of the speaker. You hear that? This sound is much louder than the original Game Boy Advance sound, because even though the Game Boy Advance original speaker isn't that really loud, it's alright, which anyone can live with it. Anyways, here's Catwoman on the Game Boy Advance, which I'm using a flash cart and I put the ROM into there. And you can hear that this sound is extremely loud. Now this is the exact same Game Boy Advance where I had an E3 2000 look with a glossy clear shell and the teal buttons, but recently I have decided to give this a more translucent blue look with a translucent blue shell, and this IPS LCD has the OSD functionality in there anyways. L and hold select is to decrease the brightness, R and select is to increase the brightness. Hold selected R and L together, the OSD menu pops up. You have brightness, color mode options, which there are 8 color filters, and pixel effect options, which there are 4. Also, you can either turn the frame on or off, or you can turn the touch sensors on or off, which in this case I'm going to leave them on because I'm going to show you the touch sensors and how they work. This touch sensor here changes the pixel grid effects, and the other touch sensor, which is on the top right here, allows you to scroll through the color filters like that. And in my case, I'm going to be using the pixel grid effect where there are pixel grid, which means lines on the vertical and horizontal together, and then they make squares like that, as you can see here. This screen effect reminds me of an AGS 101 LCD and the DS Lite LCD, which the DS Lite allows Game Boy Advance games to run perfectly with physical cartridges in there. The AGS 101 and DS Lite LCDs look pretty similar with each other due to the fact that they have proper colors and the backlight. Here's the GBA on the dock right here, and as you can see, I am using a Super Nintendo controller here, which is the Retro 6 Super Gamepad controller, and the Super Nintendo controller works with this GBA dock right here, and I'm actually using a Super Nintendo controller instead of the physical GBA buttons on this console here. Here's the Game Boy Advance running with the TV, and that the GBA console is on the dock, and I'm using the Super Nintendo controller to control the Game Boy Advance while playing it on the TV. And as you can see here, the OSD menu pops up, and there's 3 aspect ratio variations: 1, 2, and 3. 3 is the one that fills the screen up, and 2 is the one that almost touches the border, and 1 is like no stretching, and it's like the same as the GBA screen. And I'm going to put it on aspect ratio too because it fills up the TV screen with the GBA game on it, like that. Anyways, because I have installed a 2200 milliamp hour battery inside this Game Boy Advance, I am going to be doing a battery life test. So it's a comparison between the Funny Playing's original battery pack in there, which was 1800 milliamp hour battery pack, and that to see which one lasts longer between the two. When it comes to the battery life on its brightest setting, between the Funny Playing original battery pack, which is 1800 milliamp hours, and this battery pack inside here, which is 2200 milliamp hours in there, the 2200 milliamp hours on its brightness setting for the GBA has a longer battery life compared to the 1800 milliamp hour battery. And yeah, I get a longer battery life with the 2200 milliamp hour battery compared to the 1800 milliamp hour battery. By the way, I changed the LED on the Funny Playing rechargeable battery PCB to an orange LED like this right here. Originally, this battery pack PCB had a blue light for charging and green meaning fully charged, but now there's only one LED in there, and the orange means it's charging, and when the orange LED comes off, there are not any LEDs lighting up, and it indicates it is fully charged. While I'm at it, I'll show you what I did to fit this 2200 milliamp hour battery inside the GBA's back shell. And as you can tell, I removed the battery contacts on the side of the motherboard and soldered wires from this PCB to the battery contacts where they used to be. And so, yeah, there's also the battery cover no longer having the clip so that the 22 milliamp hour battery fits in there. So I had to cut a lot of plastic like this, as you can see, to make the 2200 milliamp hour battery fit in there fine. And like I said, the battery cover no longer has a clip. So instead, when I open the battery cover, I just do it like this. Put my finger there and do that, as you can see. Now, because I made this Game Boy Advance having a blue tone on there with a translucent blue shell and teal buttons, this is kind of like a Mega Man theme for this Game Boy Advance console here. And by the way, I have Mega Man running on an NES ROM running on the Game Boy Advance here. So yeah, this blue is the color that Mega Man wears, and I have a GBA that is the color like Mega Man. And here's Mega Man right there. Well, everybody, this wraps up the video. If you like this video, why don't you tap the like button and subscribe to the channel for future content. Thank you so much for watching. Goodbye.